Hi, welcome to another episode of It's a Family Affair Financial Fridays. I am here with my co host, Dr. Ronda. Hey, girl, how are you?
I am doing excellent. Excellent. How are you doing?
I'm doing so good. Well, I'm so glad I have you here today because we're going to get into another financial sticky topic. And as you all know from our topics before, that anytime we discuss finance, it becomes a family affair. So we have to have conversations around it. And I have Dr. Rhonda here who's going to help us have those conversations and bring some of these difficult conversations to light. And that way we know the best way to move forward. You ready for our topic today, Dr. Rhonda?
I am.
And just so you guys all know, I keep Dr. Rhonda in suspense too. However, she has several books around all the topics that we're talking about. So we are not going to leave you hanging by just giving you a topic and a teaser and leaving you out to do it by yourself. So we will definitely leave all the resources in the description below. But our topic today is called to do a joint account or individual account in a marriage, to have a nest egg or not to have a nest egg. Explain to some of us listeners, whether we are in a marriage, whether we are in a joint partnership, whether we are kind of, dating and getting ready to join together as one. Can you explain the concept of a separate account in a marriage and how it differs from a joint account?
This is such a great topic. And I'm glad this is a topic because, again, the whole goal of all of this is so you can sit down at the kitchen table. I'm going to start off at the dating part. You have to sit and talk about this. And I'm going to tell you some stories about me and my husband because we kind of did it all and had to figure out how to do it. So, it's, again, money is a very personal thing. Every household will not be the same because we're got different DNA, and the makeup of everybody's marriage is different also. And so when you're dating, you need to sit down and talk about this, and also being very upfront and transparent when it comes to your money and the way that you think about money. So
Yeah,
I truly believe that before you get married, you need to go through counseling with a pastor who's married or been married. Because even if they're divorced, that means they know what not to do.
exactly. Right.
Somebody that's married. But if not, they need to at least have been married. And
Right.
so when you're sitting down, put all of your cards on the table and not be afraid.
Mm,
Because when you're afraid to share, again, like you said in the beginning, this is a sticky conversation.
it is.
People hide behind masks and shields when it comes to talking about money or wanting people to reveal money. And
Yes.
so if you have, and this just popped in my head because there's a show called Love Is Blind where
Yes.
they actually like
Yes.
in the pods and then
Yep.
they meet. And one couple didn't get married because she asked him about that, and he was like, "Well, I'm good." No,
What does
because
he mean?
right,
Oh,
and when she found out, it was it's a lie. You
yeah.
are literally lying when not telling something.
Yeah.
It to me is it's
It's a lie.
for us women is a lie. And I would think if I was a woman and didn't
Mm,
tell a man, he would think it was a lie too. Now
right.
we're different people, so but it's are we
It,
going to do a joint account? Will we have, or separate accounts? So it's
right.
really up to the household, but it has to start during dating.
I
And
like
really just to talk about money, like really finding out and asking questions like, so how did your parents do when it comes to money? Like
mm,
simple questions. There needs to be some date questions. This is a whole nother
yeah.
book. I'm about to write another book, y'all.
Come on, Dr. Rhonda.
So, so it needs to be, and it can be very laid back and conversational,
Yeah.
but you need to find out, just like you would ask them, like, what religion, like, how did you grow up? Do you believe in God?
Right.
Things like that.
Right.
Then sit down and say, okay, so how was things ran in your household? Because that's something that has to be talked about. Like
It
my father,
does.
Yeah, like my father did all the cooking. If anybody thought I was going to marry them and think I'm going to cook, that wasn't happening. I don't cook. And so that should have been a question that came up.
Right, don't get mad now.
No, that's not how my household was made up. And
Right.
your households,
Yes.
of course, you don't have to do what your parents did,
Mhm.
but those experiences
Shape us.
isn't great. Yeah, it shapes how we think, what we think
Exactly.
about money, our
Yeah.
thought process about money. So you need to know and sit down and be like, here are some questions. The first question is,
Mhm.
how did your parents deal with like paying the bills? And sometimes as adults, some of us don't even know that. We
No.
don't know how our parents dealt with bills.
No.
And so and it's okay if they don't know it, if their
Right.
parents are still living, go ask them.
Go
Because
ask
there's
them.
something that even
Mm.
though you didn't see it, it still was happening. And there's little things that will come up where that was from childhood. It was a
Uh-huh.
trauma from childhood.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And like, there's some like I don't want you to work. You
Uh-huh.
Well, that's
Yes.
the thing. Like, so if I don't work,
Yeah.
then how do we do the money? Do I have access to all the money? Are you
Mm.
giving me an allowance? Am I in the
Mm.
household? Are
Yep.
you okay for me to work after we have kids? It
Yes.
could be like you can't just assume that.
Do you
Oh,
expect me to go to work after the kids are grown? Come on.
like I've been
These
out
are
of the
real life questions.
correct. Like I've been out of the workforce,
Right.
or
Right. Yes.
I don't want to stay home with the kids. That's something that do you mind staying home with the kids and I go to work? Because now there are the gender
There
reversals. That's all of that
happens
stems
all
off of money. Every
the time.
last one of them. Because daycare is like
A whole
college.
job and a half.
Yes, like those kids. So first,
Mhm.
it has to have a conversation in the beginning. And part of it is your background and your understanding of what you saw in your own household. What did you
That's
see in your household as far as money? Let's work through that. Let me tell you what I saw. Like one of the difficult things with me and my husband, it wasn't difficult, but it was something I had to like mold him into was vacation. Like we took vacation when I was little, the last week of July, we went on vacation.
yeah.
My,
Yeah.
my job at 14 or 15, I was working at the grocery store, wouldn't let me off. And my daddy went back up there and was like, well, she won't be back, but she ain't staying home.
You better
So
get you better
my
let her
vacation
go.
is important to me. And if we had discussed that in the beginning, it might not have been such a pull to get him to do it.
Right.
For a long time, me and my girls went on vacation by ourselves because mom
Mhm.
ain't fun without vacation. So
Yes.
um, the dating part of it, you can start those
Yeah.
conversations. So now for my married folks, well,
Yeah.
we've been married for a long time. So we can't go back to the dating
Too
part.
late now.
You're going to have to figure out what works best for you
Yeah.
and what both of you can agree on. I've tried.
That's good. You're getting ahead of me, Dr. Rhonda, because that was going to be my next question. Explain to some of our listeners what is the benefits of having separate accounts in a marriage.
Y'all both ain't pulling out of the same account and you bouncing stuff. That's first.
Okay.
because,
Okay.
because you didn't sit down with a budget. Now, of course, all this gets alleviated if you do a budget and everybody
Right.
knows how much money they have. But
Yes.
I was out, I needed gas, so I swiped. Well, I was out, I needed gas, so I swiped. Just for an example, for me and my husband, I'm gonna tell you because I went through like I think 3 things before we finally ended up with this
She's
one.
worked out all the kinks for us, ladies.
I the first thing I was like, well, why don't I just give you my whole check and you just give me an allowance?
Right.
But
Yeah.
every day I was asking for money. He was like, this is not working.
No, no, it's not working at all for me.
This is not working. Because I was thinking, that was what old school, no,
That's
not
what
really.
we've seen.
Yeah,
Right.
but old school, the man brought the check home, dropped it off, and I guess he kept whatever he needed, and then she had to be
The
responsible for
bills,
the
yep, food for the house,
bills. Yep,
everything. Yes.
everything.
Yes.
So that could work, but it does require some communication, and it still requires a budget. You still
Right.
need to sit down. And so
Right.
what we did when I was working, because we, especially if you're both working, what we did
Yes.
was we sat down, did a budget for the households. We knew how much money needed to be in a household account. And
Uh,
so would I say put equal amounts in it? No, probably not, because
yeah.
the person is making more than
You
the
getting in my next question, Dr. Rhonda.
other.
Well, hold on. Can you okay say that one more time?
Okay.
So with the equal amounts, because that was gonna be my next question. How do we know? Like you gonna put half your check in, I'm gonna put half mine in, and mine is bigger than yours, or yours is bigger than mine. What are we doing here?
Yeah, it needs to be a percentage. You're gonna have to figure out a percentage.
Okay, all right.
Now, I'm a believer, and I know some women probably gonna be like, "No, but I don't want to do that." Girl, let your man pay them bills.
Okay. Hold on.
Like, no. You know, I guess some women might think that they're losing control
Uh-huh.
if
Mhm.
they're doing everything.
Yeah.
By the time I stopped working, which this was only God because it wasn't planned by me. By the time I stopped working about 7 or 8 years ago, most of I was literally blowing my check. Like my check was my check. His check was literally paying all the household bills. So in that case, we knew I didn't need to go back to a job or have to travel because of that. You'll have to figure it out. And I wouldn't say in some households, I can't say not, but some households they split the bills. Like someone's paying the mortgage and somebody paying this. To keep it simple, I would say do a pot, and so you can see everything that comes out. So when things change, it's really like, okay, so we need more, and you know exactly where that money is going. No one's touching it. It's there for a purpose.
And I like what you said, Dr. Rhonda. Like this is something that my husband and I did. We started a while ago, and it was really working when we both were bringing in a check. But then when I stopped bringing in a traditional check, right? Because that makes a difference as well. It goes into that joint account, but then we had our separate accounts because what if I want to surprise you with something? I don't want you in my business.
Right. Well,
Surprise
and
myself with something.
you brought something to my remembrance why we have separate accounts. We have separate
Right.
me and my husband have the separate accounts because he went and bought speakers and I was hot for his car. He was like, I had no. He was like, fine, this is what we're gonna do.
Uh-huh.
But you have a pot and we put a pot together
Yes. Yes.
because
Yes.
so you won't be nickeling and diming each other
Each other.
what other do, and we both trust
Yeah.
each other. And one of the other things
Yes.
we're setting up now is a household email account for
Ooh.
all the household bills to be electronically going
Oh,
into one pot where he has access to it. I have access. I always kid him like if something happens to me, you don't know how to pay your cell phone bill. You do know that, right? The lights gonna be
oh
turned
my
off. You
gosh.
don't have no cell phone, and
You
so
do get me.
now we can actually see when the bills come in, and then we'll
That's a
just
good idea.
put the
That's
folders
a
away. And if something ever
fantastic.
happens, because you know how many people actually die, like a spouse dies, and that was the spouse that was doing everything. They might not even been working, but if it
Yeah.
was the wife who was taking care of all the bills, and all you did was come home and give her a check, and you know nothing.
Nothing.
So
Don't
just
know
being
socials, nothing.
right, no social security number, no nothing. Like you don't know where anything is. Don't even know if she has life insurance.
Mm, mm.
Paying.
Come on, Dr. Ron. Now you going somewhere else. See, but this is good conversation because these are the things that we do not think about. I did not think about that joint email. I think this is a great idea. This is a topic, Dr. Rhonda, that I know like a lot of women, a lot of men, couples, they battle. And I love the points that you have made that we don't have to sit here and nickel and dime each other. Let it be a surprise. Have that pot where all the checks are coming into and we are making a budget as a family. I love it, Dr. Rhonda. Okay. How can couples ensure that separate accounts do not create financial conflicts or lead to misunderstandings?
Everybody need to be joint on everybody's account, first of all. And there's a
Uh,
reason for that. First of all, if you have no one joint and something
uh,
happens to you, that
that's
money is tied up in probate.
that's true.
So
Very true.
he has cards to my account, I have cards to his account. And because we're not in, as a marriage, we are not in competition with each other, everybody.
Correct.
It's a partnership. And partnerships, we need to trust each other. That means
Uh-huh.
going and looking for stuff. Best believe you something, you might find it. Don't look, trust each other in this process.
My
And
grandma used to, no,
you,
my grandpa used to always say that. If
yeah,
you're looking for something, you're going to find it.
you
You're
will,
gonna find whatever you're looking for.
and you can make up a whole story in your head that
Yes.
that wasn't even true.
Wasn't even true.
Wasn't even
Wasn't even true. Okay, sorry, Dr. Rhonda. Okay, so go
true.
finish.
But yeah, so it's a trust factor.
It is.
Everybody needs to be on everybody's account, because if it's not, that means they don't have access. Because you literally, and I know you might not be, when your husband died, I doubt I'll be, he better not die.
Right.
But when they pass away, the last thing you're thinking about is the money in the bank or the money that might be in his account.
Mm,
You could have got paid that Friday, is $5,000 sitting in an account that you may need, but you're
mm,
not thinking about it. So,
mm,
but being transparent, it
mm.
has to be a trust factor. There is no misunderstandings when there's communication.
Yeah, that's good, Dr. Rhonda. See, that's why I got you in here. Well, you know this that question is going to lead to my next question. And my next question that I'm going to veer off to is when we do get these side accounts. Now, some of us been around long enough to get that talk from your parents, either your mom or your dad or your grandmother, and they, honey, you keep your little something aside. But just in case emergencies. Now we're talking about trust, Dr. Rhonda. So some of us battle with this because do we have that nest egg or don't we?
I say yes, but again,
Okay.
it's a discussion. It's your intention behind the nest egg that makes it not a good nest egg.
She's so good.
Yeah,
She's so
like, it has
good.
nothing to do with the nest egg or the money. If you're thinking, oh,
Mm,
I need a nest egg just in case I want to leave him, your intentions are wrong. Why
mm,
you thinking about leaving him?
come
And
on.
what are you expecting him to do that you need to leave him? So
Mm,
it's the intention behind it. I believe, like my husband has, like he wants a certain amount of money in his account at
yeah.
all times.
Yep.
And it's almost like I see older men that walk around with, cash on them.
Yeah,
They
what?
want a certain amount of cash on
At
them at
all
all
times.
times. And even though they don't use their debit card, they still want some cash on them
Yeah.
for emergencies. And so
Yep.
as women, yeah, you should be saving. Why can't your nest egg be an investing account? And
I was gonna say that, Doctor. It's in my notes, but that was see, that's why
like,
I got you
you
here.
don't have no nest egg inside of a bank that's giving you 0.00005. And at least if it's in an investing account, you'll
Mm.
have some time to think about it before you pull it out. Like you got to fill out some paperwork. You got to do some stuff. You can't just go down to the bank and just take it. Well, some of them you can. Some of them you do get a card for that you can actually take it out. But
And I will can I say this too, Dr. Rhonda, and you can speak more to this. And this is where I felt really comfortable in doing it that way as far as investments, because don't you have to, you tell me if I'm right or wrong, in any time or not any time, but majority of these investments or the way they're structured, your spouse is the primary beneficiary, correct?
and
Unless
some of them they have to sign.
Yes.
But the
Okay,
money, yes,
good.
yes.
I
You
broke
know,
that story.
there are some that you don't have to, but like,
Okay.
if you hear like, we should have emergency funds. Why can't
Right.
your emergency fund be in an investing account? Like my emergency fund is in a IRA, a Roth IRA. Like it's sitting
Mhm.
there. So
Sit
if I don't add anything to it, it's still growing.
and your spouse is the beneficiary.
Correct. He's the beneficiary of it. And
And so
so
if you yes, okay, go ahead. I'll let you talk.
yeah,
Sorry.
so is it really so one, is it really an emergency that you need it? Can you get it another way?
Yes.
And why do I have this nest egg? Do I
Mm,
not trust myself or my husband
mm.
or my boyfriend or my fiance at this moment in time? Again, these are conversations that we need to have, that I have this money over here. Because again, if something happens to you and you hiding money,
How they gonna know it's there?
how you gonna get it? So you saved all that money, you didn't get to enjoy it, so nobody gets to enjoy it. Okay, that don't make sense. Make it make sense.
I love that, Dr. Rhonda. I feel like in all the times that people have asked me this question, especially being in the financial industry for many years, I don't think I've ever heard that answer. And the answer is so simplistic.
Yeah,
What is your intentions behind the nest egg?
you have one, but like y'all need
Just
to go to counseling.
security.
If the intention is, I think he's going to leave me. How about we go to counseling?
How about there may be some more to talk about. Oh, that's good. Okay, Dr. Rhonda, that was good. I wasn't expecting that. Okay. Last question that we'll wrap up here on our Financial Fridays today. I want to ask Dr. Rhonda, can you tell us how couples can ensure that their separate accounts do not create a power imbalance or an unequal financial footing in the relationship?
We are partners.
Dr. Rhonda, sometimes it's not that easy.
It's not, but it's because we make it hard. It's
Oh.
because it's because we make it hard. It has nothing.
Mm.
Again, that has nothing to do with money, but more about mindset. When you're talking about power, money has no power. It's you exorbitant or thinking you have power because you have more. But money has no power. You have to step back. And I was just telling somebody just today, my husband don't care if I make a million. He's hoping I make $1 million so he can start working. Like, there is that because there's not any assurance, because that also goes back to childhood. What was your mother's role in the household? And what was your thought process when your mom, if your mom made more money, did she act like she controlled the household? And us as women, we gotta remember that, because I am a people don't like that word submission. But when I found out what truly it was, I was like, thank you, Jesus. Like, I like this. I like this. Everybody else don't. Because in my mind, submission is that man responsible for me, whether I'm in town or out
Mm.
of
Come on, Dr.
town.
Rhonda.
And we
Come
get to
on.
have God gonna be talking to him about this household, not.
Mm.
And when you can step back and take that burden off of you, and I understand there's a lot of women that cannot, they're running households on their own. And
Yeah.
best believe when my husband got out of the service, we were married 7 years before we lived together. And so I was in the
Mm.
household. He was sending money home, but it was a battle. It was
Right,
and
right.
we had our battles. We had our up and down. But when I finally understood that, like I don't know why nobody else like this, but I like
This
it. It
this
does,
might work.
it should not matter who makes more money. All money is both persons' money. Like
Yeah, that's good.
it's our money. It is not your money, my money. Even though we have the nest eggs or the outside of accounts, that money
Yeah.
in that account is still, it should still be seen as it's
Oh,
our money. It's ours. And so we
mm.
have to go in thinking about it that way. And if there is an issue with you making, and a lot of people won't, it's hard to get people to admit that
Yeah,
oh,
that's
woman's gonna make more money. I supposed to be, and because one, and I, one, Men think that some men think
So
that I'm running the household.
yes.
I need to be the one that makes more money.
Yeah.
And that's
Yep.
okay to think that.
But
But
if
what
it's
if
not
she
reality,
But if it's not reality and she hits the jackpot and she gets this finance the job, my husband always told me she was like, he'll be my Dave to me being Joyce Myers. He was like,
uh-huh.
carry your Bible, help you.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, look, but
Travel the world.
the world with you, everybody, but I do understand that that's and that goes back to the dating. But if you're in a marriage like
Yeah.
that, and it makes women step back also for them
Yeah.
not to use their gifts and talents. A lot of
Yeah.
women are not using their gifts and talents and making more money because their husband kind of have made them silent, made them
Yeah.
silent. They're not able to use their voice. And so,
Yeah.
for the men that are listening to this, let your woman use her voice.
Save both the marriage and the heartache. I want to ask you something, Dr. Rhonda. It wasn't in my notes, but I think it's a good way to lead out because I fear that there are a lot of women, some women who are listening to this, and just within the amount of the abundant of interviews and the different women that I've interacted with, some may feel that they are in a relationship where everything is beautiful, really nice picture, but at the same time, they may feel as if they are under a financial manipulation, if I can use the word, or as a young lady told me before, something along the lines of like financial abuse. So, if someone is in that situation right now, what would you say to them? How would you direct them to address this conversation?
One, pick the right time to have the conversation. Sometimes I think we pick times to have conversations right after we had a battle about something. That ain't the time to have it. Have it
Mm,
at a time where we on vacation, we having a good time, and we just sitting there breakfast eating. And I just want to ask you a question. Our approach to men makes a big difference. And like with my
right.
husband, like I have to use examples of if I had did this, how would you have felt?
Yeah, that's
Um,
good.
and so you have
Yeah.
to know your partner, first of all.
Yeah.
And like them watching the football game ain't the time to bring up money. That ain't,
Right.
that ain't the time. Calling them on their job and texting them while they're working is not the time. So you have to plan. Now, what we're doing now, like having these financial Fridays, and the whole point of doing them on Fridays was a time
Right.
for you're watching these shows. Now let's sit down and do the budget for the week. So, so why not
Mhm.
start there? Why not start with something? When watching this episode, I want us to grow. I want us to start either getting
Mm.
investing in some investments, some other things. So let's start doing a budget. Let's sit down and actually write everything down. Now, that's going to be difficult if you were never part of the money scheme. Like if you live in a household who pays all of the bills and everything, and you don't work. I mean, it's a
Mhm.
whole totally different conversation. And that's
That's
one.
hard.
Well, pray about it. If you all go to church, please get your pastor involved. Like, have a conversation with your pastor on how to approach it. Because really, that's a question for a man to answer for a wife to be able to say what a man. A man would be able to tell them. Let me rephrase that. I don't want you to go talk to any man because then
Yes.
with your marriage, that is not what I'm talking
I'm like, Dr. Rock, no.
about. Go to your pastor is a male pastor. Go
Yeah.
to his father if his father is still alive, and if his father is
Mhm.
in good standing. Kind of ask like you can ask some background things like about
Yeah.
money. I don't really want you to do that behind their back though. It needs to be upfront. You need
Gosh.
to approach it head
Yeah.
on, and if you're never involved in the money and I really feel like if you happy with him taking care of everything, just ask, just ask him like, if something happened to you, what I'm supposed to do.
You know what, Dr. Rhonda, I feel like this is a layered question, and you gotta. I think this really permits another episode on it. I didn't actually realize how complex it was. To be honest with you, I kind of looked at it and saying, oh, okay, easy. You deserve access to it, so just say, hey, give me the listen. But the way you just broke it down, you're right. It's not an easy subject to just, go in and say, hey, I don't like that you're doing this. I don't like that you're doing that. I deserve access to these funds. But you're right, timing, the best way of saying it. But I can tell you this, Dr. Rhonda, if you don't mind, I would love to follow up on this, ladies. This is going to be part two because I do think it's a very important conversation. Maybe perhaps, Dr. Rhonda, I can bring in a guest with us who has went through it. It is a situation that I take very seriously because I do think, and I know you do as well, Dr. Rhonda. I know there's too many women that sit in a situation where they do not have access to their family funds and they feel restraint in their own marriage. They feel like they can't even go get a piece of gum, and that's not right either. But Dr. Rhonda, you raised a lot of questions that just took my question that I thought was going to be an easy answer, and we're going to do a follow up on it.
It'd be good to find a man who has overcome that. So a
Oh,
man that has been in a marriage
good.
that was restraining and actually get their thoughts on like, okay, so where were your, why did you do that? What was, and then they might be able to tell you like, okay, background, and it really could have been control, but it has to be
Right.
somebody that's been over it because I mean, we do have people who are
You have to be a
narcissists,
witness.
right? I
Yep,
mean,
we don't need you going. No, I'm kidding. If
right.
if you're in the middle of it and you need help trying to figure out, yes, we do have resources. We have people that you can reach out to. However, like Dr. Rhonda said, if you have overcame it and you are now ready to teach other people how to overcome it and be a witness, we want you to contact us at info@womanwitness.com. That's info@womanwitness.com. We would love to have you on as a guest so we can follow up on this topic. This is good, Dr. Rhonda. I didn't expect this to go so deep. Um, okay.
You told me, I was like, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, we thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Financial Fridays. It's a family affair with Lia, Dr. Rhonda. Thank you so much for joining me today. We will be back next week. And again, put this call to action out. If you are a male and you have overcame a situation of financial abuse or financial restraints, forgive me if I'm not saying the right word for it. We want to hear from you. And you have some answers for that. We would like to invite you here to talk to Dr. Rhonda and I on a Financial Friday. So contact us at info@womanwitness.com, info@womanwitness.com. Perhaps you're chosen for such a time as this to write, to tell your story, your truth. And Dr. Rhonda, it's a family affair. All right. Bye, guys.